Hello, friends. Welcome to Heidi's Colorful Colorado. I'm your host, Heidi Ganal, a wife, mom of four, CU Regent, and the founder of Camp Bow Wow and the She Factor. With a passion for keeping the spirit of our state alive and well, I started this podcast to bring the people of Colorado together to celebrate the amazing state we call home. Come along on this journey with me as I travel across our old country roads in my vintage RV, interviewing folks that embody the true spirit of the Rocky Mountains. From the Front Range to the Mile High City to the Wild West of Southern Colorado, we'll celebrate the history, beauty, and Coloradans that make this place the colorful state it is. Each week, you'll meet people trailblazing the way for an even more colorful future for us all, making a huge difference along the way. Are you ready for a Rocky Mountain ride? Let's do this, Colorado. Welcome to Heidi's Colorful Colorado. Today we took a road trip up to Boulder, one of my favorite places, and we're meeting Jill Katzenberger, who is doing a really cool project up here for kids and STEAM and for the community overall. So Jill, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Heidi. Thanks for coming up.
Oh, we're so happy to be here. And I want to hear more about how you came up with this idea and how it came to life.
Yeah, so I am the executive director for Junkyard Social Club, a new community space opening up in Boulder by the end of the summer. It's really a new look at what does a museum educational experience feel like for a family if we take it out of a traditional setting and put it in a place where it feels fun to play, explore, hang out, and kind of just be. So the Junkyard Social Club is part community space, part adventure playground, part maker space, and for all ages.
That's fantastic, and it was so exciting to drive up and see that one of the original Camp Bow Wows is right around the corner.
That's right.
It's like, wow, this is meant to be.
Yep.
There's a lot of innovation going on in this block.
Yeah, we're located right by Foothills and Pearl Parkway, by Camp Bow Wow, Boulder Indoor Soccer. It's a great little spot in Transit Junction, kind of like businesses that have popped up and figured out how to thrive off of sort of like the main drags of Boulder, but great adjacency to like Longmont and Louisville and Lafayette, where a lot of families live now.
Well, I lived in Boulder with my kids for a long time. We just moved down south, but this is such an incredible community of parents and families, and the kids are always looking for adventure. Like they've got that mindset, right? Because that's kind of the Boulder lifestyle. Colorado too. But tell me a little bit about the kids who will enjoy this and why they'll want to come here and keep coming back.
Yeah. Well, so I guess kind of like to back up even to your first question around like what inspired the concept.
Yeah.
We spent some time thinking about what does a hands-on learning museum space look like for Boulder, and various groups have tried things over the years, and it became clear that we needed to do something different. Mm-hmm. We also have learned, and through my experience working outside of this job at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, that a lot of kids thrive in spaces where there's kind of like unrestricted ability to play and wonder and follow their curiosity. Mm-hmm. And a lot of our identities as whether it's artists or scientists or even just outside of the box thinkers, I feel like come from experiences that we have out of the classroom. Mm-hmm. You know, they're more rooted in who we are and how we've experienced the world. So it's, creating a space where all kids, and I think, Boulder kids or kids beyond Boulder will have that opportunity to learn by playing, doing, experiencing, following their own ideas, curiosities, and having the permission to, say yes and try things, and it's okay if it fails. I think that I'm hoping it's going to be an accessible experience for all kids. Yeah. And, Boulder has lots, while it's not one of the most diverse parts of the country for sure, we do have Latinx families. We have families with, kids that are extremely able-bodied, ready to move and adventure. And then, we're also creating experiences where kids that have different, different abilities or needs, neurodiverse needs, can also feel safe and comfortable to play and explore. So really trying to think about how we can make it accessible for all.
That's fantastic. Tell me a little bit about your journey to the Science Museum, and then how did you get interested in science as a kid?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it originated from a deep love of animals.
Really?
But I grew up in the foothills of Colorado above Golden and Lookout Mountain. So yeah, I was a kid that played outside for most of my childhood, catching bugs and probably putting things in my mouth that shouldn't be. But yeah, loved the outdoors, and then developed a deep love for animals. And I think at the time I didn't even really equate that with science, but then went to school for environmental science with a minor in conservation biology. So kind of that love of animals translated in wanting to understand all the ways in which animals adapt to our changing environments, and just like the cool features that make them unique in the ways that they thrive and survive. And yeah, that was also a fun just passion to be able to share when I was at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science too.
That's wonderful. Tell me a little bit about what your family and friends think about you starting this. Like, you're an entrepreneur now, you're reaching out and building a community and a business. So talk about the entrepreneurial side and the business startup side.
Oh, that's probably the side that makes me lose the most sleep.
You're not alone.
Yeah, so I guess maybe like part of our journey, we started, a small group of us started thinking about, what does Boulder need as far as community spaces? What does a hands-on science museum feel like here? My good friend, Kristen Lawrence, was the CEO and seed funder for a few years. At that point, we called the project The Hopper, and we looked at it as a for-profit and nonprofit endeavor, and we were circling investors. It became clear that creating a community space wasn't the easiest pitch when you're trying to give 2x returns on somebody's investment. So we kind of got thrown in on the entrepreneurial side of things, and then last spring, we had, I want to call it the opportunity, but it was sort of the realization that the current direction we were going wasn't the right fit, and had the opportunity to pivot. And so myself and my co-founder, Ryan Madsen, decided to go full nonprofit. At that point, I took over as executive director. Kristen still owns our building outright, but she is more of an advisor at this point. And we got to kind of settle into a place where it could be community driven, developed. Then we sort of switched from investor pitches to writing grants. Doesn't necessarily take the weight and responsibility of opening a business, off our shoulders, but I do feel like there's a sense of relief in not feeling like we're trying to create something that is beholden to investors, if that makes sense. That it can be really for the community and what the community wants. But yeah, it's been a tumultuous journey with COVID, and I know that all businesses have felt that. In a way, if I have to look at the positives, it gave us some space to breathe, to make sure that we were doing things right. I think we would have tried to have opened and pulled something off much faster to, just because rent and things like that are real. But COVID made it necessary to take some time and gave our artists more time to create and talk to, people and bring in volunteers as people began to feel comfortable, working on things outdoors during COVID. So yeah, I think that, I don't know, in a way I wouldn't change the way that things have unfolded, because I feel like we've set ourselves up at this point to both have a space that will make all ages feel excited and inspired, but also have a community that is growing and hungry for, connection and play and getting outside of their lockdown world, So yeah, maybe the perfect storm will collide and we open by the end of the summer and everybody will be really ready for it.
Oh, I think so. I just got a little glimpse of it a few minutes ago, and I'm excited to have you take me on a tour in a minute. But I want to ask you one question first. As an entrepreneur, as a startup now, one of the most important things you can do is surround yourself with people to help you and support you in your journey, right? And building community. And I think, as you mentioned, people need that so desperately right now after being locked in their houses for a year and a half or however long it's been. What do you think about, what do you think has shifted with the Boulder startup community? Is it, are people still really connected and together, or is that coming back? How's that right now after COVID?
We just launched a crowdfunding campaign, and the way that it was received in terms of just like how quickly it spread through both like our network and beyond really made it was very validating in that people are excited and ready, not just because of a year and a half of being locked down, but also seeing our town shifting in ways in which it's lost a bit of the artistic weird character that was a part of it in the 70s. And yes, there are tech thriving businesses, Amazon, Google, Twitter in town, and there are needs around those businesses and sort of a culture around it, but there are a lot of people that also want to make sure that we are maintaining the things that made Boulder unique in kind of this like artist mecca back in the day.
That's so well said, and it's so accurate. I went to school here in the 80s, CU Boulder, grew up in Monument down the road, but it seemed like such a small town back then, and just you knew everybody. You'd walk down Pearl Street and say hello to neighbors, and I do think as it's grown, you're right, there are things that are good about the growth and things that we miss, and so really grateful for you for bringing that back to Boulder, to the community we love. So
happy to, yeah. And happy to create a space where more people can become involved and bring their own forms of creativity and culture and allow it to grow from there. Because this is going to be a space that is just constantly evolving as our community grows.
Well, how about we go on a tour?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay. All right, Jill, let's go on a tour. Show us around.
Okay, yeah. So welcome to the Junkyard Social Club. So as I mentioned before, adventure playground, but within the adventure playground and also inside, it feels more like a beer garden or coffee shop. So again, a space that feels more like home, like your backyard, where it's comfortable to hang out and play, and then the learning and exploration kind of gets layered on top of that. So follow me in. Over here we see our giant pile of skis that we haven't totally come up with a plan for yet, but part of this journey has been finding weird objects and figuring out how we can repurpose them in fun ways. So those may become the railing to a fort at some point, maybe part of a giant bird nest. So here we are in our outdoor adventure playground. Behind me, we call this the cubicle, all made out of repurposed wood. So this structure acts kind of more like a scaffolding for play, not trying to prescribe how you want to play on it as a kid. Lots of different ways that you can climb through to get up and around. But then when we're open, our staff will be trained to just do sort of pop-up moments of exploration where they bring out loose parts that change kind of how the kids play, sort of like introducing a new variable. So maybe it's ropes and buckets and pulleys and golf balls, and they've got to figure out how to move things across the structure. Or it's tarps and giant wood clamps, and they're creating little shantytown forts underneath it. So different ways that you can experience, as well as just be physical and move the body. But we want to also challenge them as problem solvers and divergent thinkers that work together to kind of come up with new ideas. The back side of it is a water feature with a giant bathtub, clawfoot bathtub that will fill up, and the kids can hoist up buckets and dump buckets down the big sink, and it goes down all the different gutters.
Oh, that's cute.
Behind us is a bus that I acquired from a salvage yard in Erie, gutted out, but we're going to turn that into a cozy tea lounge with plush carpet and pillows and coffee table for kid tea parties, but also, a fun spot where if you're adults trying to ideate around, a new project or something like that, having creative environments where you can talk and collaborate and share. My co-founder Ryan and I are also both circus performers, so performance is a big part of our world. So
wait, that wasn't on your bio. I need to hear a little bit more about that.
I perform and teach aerial acrobatics. Been doing it for about 11 years, and that's how Ryan and I met. So for me, that is this sort of like exploration of both the capabilities of our bodies, but a form of play. And then also this like great way to sort of apply the problem solve puzzle part of my brain and figuring out new ways to move. Next to the bus over there is this giant bird cage. It's one of my aerial toys. So I've done shows and that as it gets
so
rigged and
fun.
raised up. So yeah, this big giant aerial rig is my version of a toy. But we'll also use it for science experiments, hoisting things up, dropping, contraptions that the kids have built to protect an egg and things like that. There's tunnels underneath the stage that they can explore. We're going to take this airplane, which is a model of a World War II trainer plane. So it was actually never built to fly. This style of plane was built to train pilots how to maneuver on the ground. But there's a replica that was made by some folks up in Wyoming and given to us. It's going to get welded on top of that shipping container next weekend. And then a railing will get put up there with a fun way up, and maybe that's where the skis are going to end up going on, creating the railing, the banister. And so this whole space is getting transformed into outdoor hangout with lots of opportunities for kids and adults to play in all these different versions of play. We're going to build a tree fort in that tree eventually, which could also be a DJ booth for outdoor parties, dance parties, shows.
That's great. And you have a horrible backdrop over there. It's just not very pretty.
No, yeah. We get to enjoy the flat irons. Our giraffe here was built by an artist down in Denver, Mitch Hoffman, out of way more pieces of junk than I can count, but there's lots of awesome treasure hidden inside of him.
Jill, was the mural already there? Or
No, we hired an artist, Drew Button, to paint this mural. We started ideating over this back in, kind of lockdown Zoom mode. Yeah. So with him over Zoom, and I think that we got on the tangent of cephalopods from him seeing my tattoo through the screen. And we landed here because he had done a bunch of awesome octopus drawings and sketches that I had seen in his portfolio. But for me, the octopus represents kind of like this perfect example of divergent thinking in nature. As we think of divergencies, all the ways in which we can approach something differently, approach a problem or approach survival as an animal differently. An intelligent species that survives in such a different way from everything else, such a different form of intelligence. So
that's fascinating.
Yes, our octopus, we call her the mother. She's holding on to all of her eggs and building and kind of releasing her little intelligent spawn out into the world.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. What's the square footage of the outdoor area and the indoor area?
Outdoor is around 6,000 square feet, and then inside we have about 3,500. So we can, we've been focusing our build on the outdoor space for the past year, knowing that folks were going to feel more comfortable gathering outside. Our next big step is turning the inside into more of a funky coffee shop vibe. So behind me, there are some desks outlining where we're going to be building a cafe, counter, bar, and a small back of house that'll get built here. We're working on getting a full liquor license, so families will be able to come in. Essentially, the model as a museum will be that kids are a $10 admission, but then there'll be punch cards and memberships that bring that cost down, so hopefully inviting people to come back often. But it's free for adults. So as a parent, you can bring a friend, have a cup of coffee, have a glass of wine, have a happy hour, and your kids are playing, and there's staff playing with them, and you get to sit back and relax, which I feel like is not something that's been heavily explored in the museum.
You are going to be beloved by all moms in the area. That's fantastic.
And we'll have food trucks on the weekend, but then we'll also have local, snacks and sandwiches and salads and things like that available in the cafe. The inside will have lots of flex tables and seating, but we will be, the mess in this corner will turn into an indoor play structure. So hopefully by this winter, when everybody is ready to hide inside from the cold, we'll have some physical play and exploration that'll be able to happen inside, different leveled platforms with nooks for spaces for kids to hang out and climb through, and also platforms large enough to be able to do things like open mic nights and speakers and things inside.
This is so fun.
Yeah, so Drew, who did the outdoor mural, also did our indoor mural here. Early on in the concept phase of the outdoor mural, the eggs were going to have these little critters that were like the perfect blend of the animal with the human version of that adaptation in innovation form. The texture of the building made it clear that doing that was going to be too much, but he developed these 6 different animals that were kind of these cool, like, mash-up mutants. So he did the elephant, saxophone on this wall for us. And we'll go ahead and just walk upstairs so I can show you the full space.
Hi, everybody.
This is going to function more like a classroom or workshops where we'll be able to hold classes and also do projects. So when we're open during public hours, there might be a project of the day happening up here where kids can come up, build, let's say it's rubber band boats or something like that. Lots of different materials that they'd be able to choose from, that maybe they can go somewhere else in the space and test their creation, like in the bathtub, come back up and fix it, tinker again. So having kind of this like more hands-on, different form of like focus play, as opposed to the physical outdoor play that they'll find outside.
Yeah,
right?
This place definitely looks like it's going to be just as fun for the adults as the kids.
Hope so.
What was it before, Jill?
This was a printing company called Printers. It's behind me. I'll actually turn it on. They left their neon sign here.
Oh, fun.
And so Leo, another one of our co-founders, that's our web and branding guy, turned into sort of our own little art piece to pay homage to what used to be here. But yeah, it was an old printing company, and the lot that we've transformed into the adventure playground was just a beat up, cracked up asphalt parking lot. Not much longer than a year ago. So yeah, we've come a long ways.
Jill, how do families find out more about when you're opening or sign up for a newsletter?
Yeah, great.
Follow you on social media?
www.junkyardsocialclub.org. There is a button on there to get added to the newsletter. Program button where you can find out about summer camps, booking a private event in our space. It's been a great way for us to test our play structures, to bring people in on kind of smaller, more controlled experience moments. So we're happy to do that on the weekends. And yeah, and we'll keep updates on there for when we'll be ready to open. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Junkyard Social Club.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us and telling Colorado about what you're up to.
Yeah, of
I
course.
can't wait to come back when it's open
Yeah.
and just vibing with lots of people here. So I'm excited to do that, and I wish you all the best in
Thank you,
getting
Heidi.
to that launch time.
Yeah, wonderful.
All
Thank
right.
you for coming up, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Heidi's Colorful Colorado. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And definitely follow me on Instagram to keep up with my latest adventures. In the meantime, happy trails from me, Heidi Ganahl.